In the mid 80s, the phenomenon of laser tag was born with the invention of the original laser sport Photon, and a space themed TV show of the same name was launched as a means of promoting the Photon laser tag centers. Today, I'm talking with one of the stars of that show, Loretta Heywood, who played the role of Tivia on the TV series. She is also known to many as a popular musician, from performing in the early 90s with Bomb the Bass and co writing the hit song Winter in July, to now returning to music with the release of a new solo album. Loretta, thank you for taking the time to talk with me a bit about Photon and your life and work since then.
Thank you. Welcome. Nice to join you. Finally, because we've been emailing for a while, so it's great to talk to you in person.
Oh, it is such a treat. And going back and thinking about Photon, I know there's probably a lot of memories, and we'll try and jog some memories here.
Mm.
I know that Photon was filmed in Tokyo in Japan. Could you maybe
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about when you were living in Japan, what you were doing in Tokyo, what was your reason for going there?
Wow. Well, I was quite young when I went, and basically, in the very, very early 80s, there were people from London were flown out to Japan. We were models, and because we were quite short, 170, 165, you couldn't really get work in London. So my agency, Askew's, had just opened a sister company in Tokyo, and they were sending people over there who were perfect for Japan and too short for London. So I was one of the batch of the very early gaijins, as you would call it then, who got sent to Tokyo to model out there.
So you went there for modeling, and the opportunity for Photon arrived while you were already there?
Yeah, I'd been in Japan maybe about 3 years, I think, modeling with my agency, and I'd also started a singing career, or was on the verge of starting. And then the Photon came through an acting agency, and they were interested, I think, in me because I was starting to sing. So yeah, I got the part, really. Probably due to the duality of modeling, singing, acting. Um, yeah.
Excellent. Now, maybe you have some memories. What kinds of things do you remember about the other cast members and your experience on the show?
I have some memories. I don't have a lot of memories. It was a 6 month time frame where we shot however many episodes were being shot on a blue screen mostly, and on location in and around Japan. And we were sort of thrown together and put in costume and given our characters. And I think I probably remember most Graham, who played the robot, because he was from London and I was another English person. So we kind of clicked. And of course, Mandel, because he's such a big character. And yeah, I think those are the main people I clicked with. Percival was very young at the time, so his sister was there. Bodie Lee was Bodie Lee. He was quite good looking. I think I might have been a little bit intimidated by him because he was quite handsome, really, for a young person at that point. But yeah, we were thrown together, and it was like a small family, really, of foreigners in Japan, in quite a surreal situation. You're foreigners in a foreign country shooting an American TV series. So you, we became like a little family, really. But Graham, I remember, would give me a lift home on his bike most of the time, most days, and I would go straight to a jazz club where I was waitressing and singing at the time every evening, I think, after shooting. So it was quite a busy time period for me.
Oh, that's a great story about riding on the motorbike.
I was really scared, but it was the quickest way back to Tokyo, down the highway and everything. And I remember just holding on tight to him on the back of he was a bit of a motorbike fan. And yeah, it got me from A to B.
Very interesting. Now, had you ever done any acting before that point?
No, never, never. So it was quite a surprise that they actually chose me. But again, I think it was to do with the singing that I might have even won the Gaijin Karaoke singing contest by that point. I can't actually remember time frames, but I had was a bit like the X Factor of Japan. I won a singing competition out there, and that might have helped, I think, get the part.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so much actually happened during that time period that I can't remember what was first, what was second. A lot was going on for me, but I think that might have been part of the reason for getting it. Maybe. I don't know. I can't really remember.
Well, being somebody who was new to the world of acting, I'm sure it was quite an experience to be going on to the set and seeing the blue screen all around you. What was the experience really like for you when you were there?
Uh, yeah, first acting and then on a blue screen, it was hard because, you imagine acting's going to be in a stage with a set and, instead of, you have rocks there instead of walking around the rocks that don't really exist. You would have thought you'd be on this set to help the acting become more real. But literally, you had to pretend there was a rock or there was a spaceship and things because you were on a blue screen. And now I think they're green screens, not even blue screens.
Yes, a lot of theater of the mind, I imagine.
Lots of theatre of mine, which maybe having never acted before might have been in my favour because I didn't really have anything to compare it with. And none of us did really, except for maybe Mando. So we just went with what we were told to do. Like, there's a rock there, there's a spaceship there. That's where you jump, and that's where you do this. And yeah, maybe because, but then I do remember when we went out on location, it was a lot more fun because you had real rocks to hide behind and, real scenery. So it made it feel more real, more like acting maybe.
Now, what kinds of things do you remember about your costume and your makeup that you had to go through?
It was hot, very hot. I had this full lycra suit on, probably 3 layers. I had a lycra, then a fishnet, then I had the actual outfit, and then I had my pack of guns, and then I had the face mask, and I had pink makeup over my face. So it was a lot for me to get ready. And Mando as well, because both, actually, me and Mando were the ones in the makeup mostly. Graham had a suit on, so he didn't have to do anything. It was, yeah, that was really hot to have that whole outfit on and pink makeup was, especially in the summer when it got warmer, a little bit too much at times.
It seems that those costumes were very elaborate.
Very elaborate. I wish I'd have kept it actually. I didn't keep it, but yeah, it was. You went into character. I had to go into character. Graham and the other monsters just put on a helmet and carried on, but it was really hot for them. I mean, yeah, I remember them sort of taking off their heads and just sweating buckets. And me thinking, thank God I'm not in a monster outfit. I've got it easy with a ninja thing. Yeah.
I can imagine.
Mm.
What was your reaction to learning that there are still people who fondly remember Photon, both the laser tag game and the TV series?
Oh, bit unbelievable, really. Because, I stayed on in Japan, so I don't think I even really knew the effect that there was in America or what happened in America with the TV series because I didn't really hear much about it after doing the 6 months filming. Um, and also being from England, I wouldn't have known what was going on in America. So I guess I just thought, oh, there you go, we've done it, that's done. And oh, yeah, I've heard this is going on in America. But I didn't get any other phone calls or anything. So you forget really. And then to hear it had this impact and then you getting in touch with me, it's quite mind blowing really to think it actually did have an impact on people's lives. People watched it and that they liked it.
Well, absolutely. And I'll say, as a young girl growing up in that time period and watching you on the screen, what an impact it was to see a female role model on the TV screen. And honestly, I think that has a good deal to do with why I love laser tag today and Quite frankly,
Wow.
why I studied the martial arts today, too, because your
Really?
character was the ninja princess.
And here's the funny thing, I never studied martial arts. That was all, I think in your head you always know what you want to do. And I remember a lot of the time they would tell me off because every time I do a kick, I go, and they would say, stop doing that because your mask is moving and you have to kick someone and punch them without making that sound. And I found that really hard because when you think of martial arts, you are going, and making noises, and I couldn't do that.
Although it almost maybe wouldn't have mattered so much because they ended up dubbing over the voices
They
anyway.
dubbed me anyway. They said you sound like a fisherman's wife, and no one in America is gonna understand you. So I think I was the only one that actually got dubbed by an American accent.
Actually, I've understood that they probably dubbed all of the characters, even
Did they?
those who had English accents, because according to David Stay, it had to do with more of the mix of different accents. You from England, and do I understand Graham Ravy was
Music.
originally from Australia or from England?
He was one of those Australian English, but his accent was a mix actually of English Australian. Now you've said that, that rings a bell. I think he'd lived in Australia or came from Australia, but he's, primarily English. But David's accent's the same. Bodhi's sounds the same. Um, yeah, maybe they did dub a few others. I know I was definitely dubbed. I was the first to be dubbed.
Well, certainly by accounts by some of the other actors and actresses, it seems like everybody was dubbed across the board, and who knows what the
Oh,
reasons were, but it's interesting.
yeah, that is it. I was a little bit thinking, oh, what's wrong with my English accent? But then I thought, worse for American if they can't. And also, because I'm not an actress, I guess my delivery wouldn't have been like an actress's delivery anyway. I'm very raw in whatever I do. Same with the singing. I never learned how to sing. I just sing. So everything is very raw and natural. And for a TV series, that might not be the best thing, maybe.
Now, you said that you never saw the TV series when it went to be aired in America, so you
Yeah.
probably weren't familiar with some of the things that were going on in connection with it. But did you ever know that there was an action figure line and that there was almost a Tivia action figure, as well as other licensed merchandise that was produced that was related to the characters from the show? Did you know about the potential of a Tivia action figure, and what do you think about it now?
Yeah, I think we got told that, and I, probably would have tried to get hold of a doll or something, but I never really, uh, after the show was over, that was it, really. And I also then really went on to the singing career, and my life moved on very quickly after that. But I think I had heard that this was going on and that was going on, but I didn't know how to follow it up or get hold of anything, and went very much into my own career with music after the Photon series.
Certainly. And why don't we segue into talking a little bit about what happened? You finished filming the Photon series and then started pursuing this career in music, and most notably singing with Bomb the Bass in 1991. How and when did you really get into the music industry?
I started getting into it in Japan. I got a record deal with CBS Sony, which again might have been before Photon or during, I can't really remember, and did some shows. And then I toured with a couple of famous Japanese singers as their backing singer, then recorded a couple of um, underground dance tracks in Japan before moving back to London. And it was one of those songs that Tim Simonon from Bomb the Bass had actually heard before I moved back to London. And about a year after me moving from Japan, I had a phone call from him asking me to come to the studio because he'd worked with the Japanese people that I had worked with in Japan. They'd come back to London around the same time as me, and he'd heard those recordings and asked me to come in. And me not knowing who he was, because I didn't have a clue, just went in, recorded a couple of songs, and that led to the album and then the hit, Winter in July, which was all, again, a surprise for me. Seems everything's come by luck and coincidence in that time period.
And when you were in Japan and he was hearing some of the music that you were working on, I
Mm,
know that there were some other projects, Sexy TKO with Tribe of Love.
that's
What were
it.
some of the
Yeah,
other
that's
early
what he heard.
recordings?
That's what he heard. He heard the sexy TKO, Tribe of Love, Touch Me, Take Me, and that's what led him to call me. Because Tribe of Love became quite an underground classic in London. Again, without me knowing, I had no idea that it was a big bootleg before I even had come back to England, I think.
That must be something walking back into that experience and finding that something became a hit without your knowledge.
Yeah, hit on the bootleg. Bootleg means people copied it and made, 12 inches. So I didn't really reap any benefits other than people knowing that song. And even now, it's still a classic tune for people. Um, yeah, everything happens so quickly and I go, oh yeah, that's great, but what's next? What's going to happen after this? So that's always where I'm at.
Well, certainly nice to know that people appreciated and liked what you
Yeah,
did.
it is. It is. It is. It is. It's, you feel quite, chuffed, really. Even now with Winter and July, people would write, and it's still, you get chuffed, 20, 30 years on that someone liked that record and they, like the lyrics. Still feels really nice to hear.
Yes, Winter in July, probably your best known song. You co wrote with Bomb the Bass, and it was a hit in Europe and has been covered by artists, including Sarah Brightman. And maybe you could share a little about what does the song mean to you?
The song is, the songs I think what everybody goes through, questions in life. You get points in time where life seems to be passing you by and things are going on, people are dying, people are killing people, wars are happening, tragedies are happening, or good things are happening, and your life's on a journey, and things might cross your path or not, and you just feel you're here going down that path and that journey. Sometimes you don't know why you're doing it. And, it might be in a point where you're not feeling very good, but something keeps you going. And that's hope or just faith or life. So for me, Winter in July was written about us continuing on our journeys and just keeping sight of the future, of hope, of your dreams, because we don't know what's going to happen to us or we don't understand what's happening to us sometimes or why, but you just somehow pick yourself up and keep going. So that's what that was about to me.
Well, it's a beautiful song, and certainly it speaks in a lot of ways to different journeys. And part of your journey really took a change of direction at some point when you decided to move away from a career in music and study, correct me if I say this wrong, Ayurveda?
No, you said it right. I read it.
Ayurveda.
Yeah.
Well, what were some of the things that influenced you to make this change? And maybe you could explain what Ayurveda is and why it's so important to you.
Well, when I was in the music industry in the 90s in London, it wasn't easy. So my solace was found through yoga, meditation, or Ayurvedic doctors who I would go to see to find ways to rebalance myself. And that was my saving grace to get through what was quite a hard time. So when I decided around 1998, 99 to put close the door on music for a while because it was becoming quite tough to do anything. And I had to rethink, well, what do I do now? I can't really do anything else, can't type or anything. And the only other thing I was interested in was Ayurveda. So I embarked on courses with that. And the first and easiest course was through the massage therapy. And I did about a year's course on that, and before I'd even finished, I had a job working in a spa, and I just loved it. It was like it became my creative outlet, whereas songs and music were one avenue. To use massage therapy became the music for me for a little while. Well, it still is actually. And Ayurveda, so I just spent years studying and now working with this. And what it means is the knowledge of life, the science of life. And what you do is find personal ways for people to rebalance health issues, life in general. So it's a form of healing using our own lives, our own natures, therapies, herbs, food to gain a balance if we're out of balance.
Well, excellent. And it's an interesting turn that really does tie back to music and to making a difference in people's lives. What are
Yeah.
some of the other things that have played an important role in your life during this time that you weren't pursuing the career in music?
Um, I would say that's about it. I fully focused on the Ayurveda and yoga and the meditation. Really, since music, I went into that, and then that is what interests me. And with Ayurveda, there's so many facets in there. Food, cooking, just life experiences and anything. And there's a lot of studying to do with that. And then, when I have clients, they become my study too. So every person is a study for me. Their lives is a study for me. What's going on with them is an interest to me. So I actually find the human being quite fascinating and people's minds and their emotions. It's a full-time job. Being interested in what makes people tick, what makes them fall unbalanced and how can they rebalance. So yeah, I'd say that is what has taken over in the past quite a lot of time. And then in the past few years, music again came into play. So I've juggled both.
Yes, and that's been so interesting that in the recent past year especially, you've made a real return to music with an acoustic album now called The Boy Across
Mm.
the Road. What brought you back to music now and how did this album develop?
I had always had these songs over the 15, 20 years, since From the Bass, and they were just a collection of songs. So at some point I knew I would have to record those songs with someone and create a sound. And that's when I met Andy Mitchell, who was the boy across the road. And between us, we made an album of the songs and we started it in my front room and took it to a studio. And it became a very humble pie of my 10 best songs, which I recorded, made the album, and then to take it out live. About 2 years ago, I ran into someone I'd worked with 15, 20 years ago, Skip McDonald, and thought this is the component I need to do live shows and to take this further. I need this influence, musical influence he had. So it's been a long 2 years, and then last year ended up with the live shows, and I did I think 12 to 15 shows in 9 months last year,
So,
which were great actually. We're just editing the videos, which should be ready soon.
oh, that's exciting. Now, with some of these songs, though, am I understanding you that you had them written for some time? They aren't something that came about because of this album?
No, they're a collection of songs over the years of my life that I've picked my 10 best.
Well, with being not just a singer, but also a songwriter here, I'm sure that a lot of the songs really have some special meanings. Which are the news that are among your favorites, and why would you call them favorites?
Butterfly, I'd say is one of my favorites because it's a beautiful song about letting love go in a very beautiful way. This Boy, That Girl, because it's probably the populist song I've got. So it's quite fun to do that live. What other ones? Mm, I like all of them on the album. They're the ones I like quite a lot. And I've got other songs that have been written since that I hope will be on a following album at some point. But yeah, the ones on that album, I like all of them. They're all my favourites, really.
The album is definitely full of music that's very soulful, very emotional, but
Mm,
several tracks were also remixed for a totally different sound for the Five Shades of Summer.
yeah.
Why did you choose to release the songs in this remixed manner, and what other shades of music do you think that you hope to share with people?
The remixes came about because my songs, like Winter in July, are basically love songs, and it's quite hard to filtrate a market with love songs. And I'm also from a dance background, so I love dance music. And quite a few producers have often said, "Oh, I'd love to remix a song for you." So I would say, "Well, choose a song, choose one." And the same songs would be chosen. It would be Butterfly, This Boy, That Girl, and Winter in July were the choice songs to be remixed by people. And I had these remixes, and I just thought, my concept of Five Shades of is what came about with the band, which is called Five Shades. And the Five Shades means to me I can do any type of music. I could do Five Shades of reggae, Five Shades of jazz, I have Five Shades of blue. So Five Shades of Summer was my summer dancey remixes. And it gives people a chance to listen to songs, the same song in a different setting. Because dance is, where I started. It's just a creative, artistic thing that I want to do.
No, it definitely gives people a chance to enjoy it in a whole different
Yeah,
manner.
yeah, music can be produced in any style that you want, really. You can take one song and sing it in rock, it could be reggae, it could be jazz, and I like to experiment with all of that. So it's my little offshoot and way to do whatever I want. I can do anything, and under that banner, I can do whatever I choose to do.
Well, and it's terrific to hear the different ways that you're getting back into the recording and these remixes. And what has it been like for you getting back on stage and singing for live shows again?
I've liked it more now than before. I think, it's not that I'm more confident now. I think the pressure's off to be anything because you're not really going to be anything, like top 40 or whatever. So it's more, I've just enjoyed doing the live shows for the sheer fact of singing the songs and performing live. It's been great. It's been a lot of hard work, but I have enjoyed it a lot. So it's something that just had to happen. Just happens to be 20 or 30 years later than when I thought it would happen.
Well,
Which just proves you never know what is going to happen.
absolutely. What advice would you give to other songwriters wanting to share their music, especially experiencing this now?
Just do it. If you feel it's right to do it. There is no kind of lottery at the moment. There's no winning formula. There might not even be a formula. There might not be a lottery at the end of it, but you just got to do it because if that's something you want to do, you'll have the joy in doing it. And at some point, you realize you're doing it purely for that fact that it's enjoyable to do. Of course, we all hope to make a career out of it again or get this or get that. But that's a hard path and it might or might not happen. So if anyone wants to do their songwriting or recording, find a way and just do it because you do only have one life. So it's better to do it your best than not to try or get despondent and give up.
Absolutely. And if people want to purchase your album, where can they find it?
It's on iTunes and you can go to my website and there's links there to the various albums that there are to buy and they just press iTunes or whatever. Yeah, there are ways to download the albums through the website.
Excellent. Well, definitely, I highly recommend this album. A lot of great
Oh,
music on
thank
it,
you.
and so great to be finding that and seeing what you're doing today. And going back, 30 years have passed now since Photon time. I just want to kind of recap and revisit that. Have you had any contact over the years with any of your fellow Photon cast members?
No, apart from since you being in contact, David on Facebook and that's it. That's it. No, it did. I'd totally even forgotten about it until, you emailed me out of the blue and jogged my memory. One of those things you just go, oh, you move on. It's 30 years ago. Yeah.
It's amazing how the time goes by. How do you
Yeah.
feel looking back on Photon episodes or thinking about Photon memories all these years later?
Well, it's really nostalgic to look back and you can remember that time that you did that. And it's really nice to look back and you've made me a lovely montage of the video, which I need to upload to my YouTube channel. I forgot. And it's great. Yeah, it's great.
What was the best part of the Photon experience for you?
I'd probably say the episodes where I was singing and had the mask off and could be more myself. Maybe those, as far as the filming, were the best parts. And just being part of that little family for 6 months was really nice.
Well, and as you know, there was recently a 30th anniversary event that was held in Maryland to celebrate Photon, both the game and the show. What were your thoughts when you first learned that an event like this even took place?
I couldn't quite believe it, that things like that happen. But then, it's America, anything can happen. And I think as British, you think, yeah, only in America. Yeah, I'm amazed people still want to do these things. It's great. It's not something I ever got into, but it's quite fascinating that people did that and do that and still find that interesting. It's great. I've often said to you, I'd love to go back, not go back, I've not been, but go to America for one of these events one time and, see people enjoying it.
Does it surprise you to know that Photon still holds a nostalgic place in some people's hearts?
Yeah, it totally surprises me. I guess you don't think things like that are going to make such an impact on someone's life. I never dreamed that would happen. Because how old are you? I mean, we must be quite a difference in age.
Well, it's going back 30 years, 28 for the TV show, but yeah, anybody who was watching it as a child is probably in their mid 30s at this point, and most people who were playing the game at that time would have been teenagers to maybe in their 20s. So you think
Oh,
about that,
quite old.
quite a different span. The game, I think, appealed to one set of an audience, whereas the TV show really was more geared towards younger children who might
Young
be a
people.
potential audience for Photon.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'd say that some of us are now the ones who like to play laser tag, so it certainly did the trick in one way or another.
That's funny. So you still play it?
Oh, absolutely. I was doing it last
Really?
night.
Really? Well,
Yes. Well, it's not photon per se anymore, but
no,
laser
but it's
tag as a
still
sport has evolved and is certainly accessible and play a lot of laser tag. This is going to be on Tivia Chick Loves Lasertag.com.
how funny. So what, in all over America, people play laser tag?
Oh, yes. In fact,
Do they do
last
it in
weekend,
England, Is that something people do
I don't know, but you know what? Last weekend I was in Canada and we played at 4 different laser tag centers.
here? How funny. You see, I've never been into these sort of things, so I just wouldn't know. Is it like bowling? People going bowling, but they play laser tag?
I guess if it's your hobby of choice, then that's a good comparison.
Wow. It's quite funny that people do that. Yeah. It's amazing, really.
So at the time, I guess you never imagined that you'd be doing something remembered by a young audience that's now grown up as something that was sort of
No,
special.
never, 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 never thought that would happen. No.
Well, what would you say to people who are still fans of Photon and might be listening to this interview?
What would I say? Mm, I don't know. I'm glad they enjoyed the show, and it's a surprise to me to find out that it did affect people's lives, and that makes me feel quite happy as well. Yeah, let's come to America and do a show for you.
Excellent. Well, it's such a treat to be able to talk with you about this. And I want to thank you so much for taking some time to talk about Photon and also your other more recent projects. Do you have any final thoughts for people or give them some direction where to find what you're up to?
The website will be having all the information. I mean, mostly I'm focusing on live music and doing some corporate shows and things like that. So yeah, if anyone wants us to come over to America, if we could do a Tivia show, I'll bring the band and give you guys a party for the next laser tag convention or something.
Sure sounds good
Yeah,
to me.
yeah.
Well,
I'm a lot older now, but definitely up for coming to perform in a different way.
Excellent. Well, for more information about Loretta's music, you can visit her website at Loretta Heywood. That's LorettaHeywood. LorettaHeywood.com/music. Thanks again so much, Loretta, and best of luck to you with your return to the music scene.
Thank you, and I hope you keep enjoying the laser tag fun. I might even try it myself if I find something here in England, which I'm not sure there is, but I might Google it to see what's going on and approach them.
Excellent. Laser tag with Tivia. That would be something.
Yeah, well, I'll come and give you a laser tag game one day.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.